Okay, so welcome everyone. This is the Design for San Diego kickoff webinar. I'm very excited to be sharing this design challenge that we've created for fall 2024, along with a great team that's going to also be part of this presentation. My name is Stephen Dow. I'm a professor in cognitive science and in the design lab here at UC San Diego. And the design lab, I should say a few words about that, is this interdisciplinary group that sort of exists on campus between departments and focuses on human-centered design and community-driven design. And this initiative is really an extension of that group's charter on campus. So let's say a few words about Design for San Diego. You can go to the next slide.
Okay, give me 1 second because I think people are not able to see my screen. Shut down once again. Is it loading now?
Okay. So moving on to the next slide. So Design for San Diego is an initiative we started in 2017 to address civic challenges in our region. Our goal here is to really provide a space for everyone to be able to come together and discuss and design solutions to challenging issues that really affect all of us. It's a simple idea in a way. We want to get a lot of people to get together to innovate for our great city, our great region. In fact, we're inviting people from the Tijuana area as well to participate, and not only so we get a lot of great ideas for how we can address some of the challenges in our region, because by doing this, we collectively all learn about the different facets and complexities of these issues. And throughout this whole process, we're going to be keeping people at the front of our minds and communities at the front of our minds, because we're really into human-centered design and making sure that human values are represented in what we create. We've had a couple of previous challenges. In 2017, we worked in mobility. In 2020, we worked on the COVID pandemic, and you can read more about those on our website. But really, it was an opportunity for many people, hundreds of people from the city to come together and come up with new solutions. This year's challenge is going to focus on housing. In particular, we're interested in how we can design resilient solutions that have a lasting impact on the housing crisis. It's an important topic in our city right now. If you go to the next slide, it's a topic, housing. The housing crisis and homelessness is all over the news. It's at an all-time high right now in San Diego, especially among younger people and vulnerable groups like seniors. If you were to go let's talk about some of the challenges on the next slide here. Yeah, go back one. San Diego is not new to this challenge. We've been looking at it and facing it for a long time, and there's many people and organizations currently working on it, but it's a hard problem. For example, just this summer, there was a proposal to convert a warehouse into a giant new housing shelter. I think it was going to bring 1,000 new beds, temporary housing, but it was met with a lot of resistance from neighbors. It was also met with accusations of manipulation, like how did this warehouse get this, contract with the city? The city's budget and the California state budget continue to put money towards this problem, but the situation has not improved. And it's not just a problem with homelessness, which we can all see with our eyes, and we know many people are suffering, whether they're out on the streets or living out of their cars. It's also a problem with just the cost of housing. If you go to slide 8, we see that the cost of living in San Diego is 44% greater than the national average. And San Diego residents find it increasingly difficult to maintain stable housing. So many people in our community are affected by this, and you can see it by what they're commenting on online. People saying sad but relieved just to get out of California, saying landlords are bleeding our economy to death. we saw a comment, someone saying, well, housing is cheap in Imperial Valley, but then there's this problem of having to commute and the transit issues and the lack of jobs in the Imperial Valley. So how can we change this trajectory and ensure greater access to healthy, safe, and stable housing? So that's what the topic is of our challenge this year. And to help you sort of get started on this challenge, to help you think about how you can apply design thinking to this challenge, we've done some work to try to carve out different challenge areas. And I'm going to invite the D4SD team to come and speak to the 4 different challenge areas that we've created. And so I'm going to pass it over to the first one of those presenters.
Yeah, so basically one of our first topics is health here, and we're looking at how might we improve the mental and physical health of those experiencing housing insecurity. While going to this, improving the mental and physical health of those facing housing insecurities involves addressing both immediate and long-term needs. And it has several potential angles for innovation. For example, some ideas that come out to that can be consistent access to healthcare is limited, so which causes leading to frequent emergency room visits and poor outcomes. Or we can go into personal hygiene. Personal hygiene not only affects physical health by spreading diseases, but it also impacts
We have lost
significant
Ryan.
difference.
Yes.
Is the audio sharing?
We lost the last 30 seconds of what you said.
Oh, is this, can you hear me right now?
Yes.
Okay. And then one of the last ones are personal hygiene challenges. Or did you catch the personal hygiene section or?
A little bit.
Okay, okay. So personal hygiene, one of the other routes can be personal hygiene challenges because it not only affects physical health, but also can spread diseases and impact dignity and well-being. Another route could also be improving sleep conditions for individuals without beds. It can be a significant difference for them. And by focusing on these ideas within these areas, we can create solutions that promote overall health and stability for this vulnerable population.
Right. Who's next?
All right, thank you. So the next challenge topic that we're going to be introducing is upward mobility. In this topic, we're really asking the question, how might we design pathways that empower individuals seeking employment and housing stability? We realize that achieving economic mobility is a critical challenge for individuals experiencing housing insecurity. There are often systematic barriers such as lack of education, employment opportunities, and stable housing. To give everyone a statistic, in 2022, for every 10 people exiting homelessness, another 13 people lost their home due primarily to financial reasons. In addition, studies show that renters who involuntarily lose their homes are 11 to 22% more likely to also lose their jobs. With this being our current reality, it's apparent that providing access to job training, educational programs, and affordable housing solutions is essential to fostering pathways for long-term stability. We hope you can sit with the question of how we can design to facilitate people's upward mobility, increasing positive exits from homelessness.
And next, I think Cole.
Thank you. I'm now going to introduce the challenge topic of awareness. For this, we are asking the question of how might we encourage the public to have greater empathy and take action on housing? Public attitudes significantly influence how people experiencing housing insecurity are treated every day. When misinformation is persistent, it becomes challenging to provide support to people enduring such a difficult situation. In one survey, over 70% of San Diego residents inaccurately named addiction and substance abuse as the primary cause of homelessness, instead of high costs and financial instability. Even with accurate information, many residents and city council members do not support solutions such as affordable housing. To effectively address the root causes of homelessness and improve the experience of navigating housing, we need avenues for the public to reframe their understanding and response to these issues. Some possible ways to tackle this issue include demystifying affordable housing, addressing at-risk populations, evaluating housing solutions, and rallying community involvement.
Thank you, Cole. I'm going to pass it to Alex.
Right. Our last theme is placemaking, and the problem question for this is, how might we design safe and accessible places that create a sense of belonging and community? Addressing the housing crisis means more than just providing a roof over someone's head. It's about building a place where people feel safe and have a sense of belonging. Under this challenge, we have learned that many unhoused folks experience feelings of isolation and loneliness, that people often form bonds with others in their situation, and that something this can be a barrier or at least a sore spot around moving to a new place. And well, might we turn an underused space into a meaningful place for community? Or how can we improve the safety and inclusion of spaces, whether it's a housing shelter, a parking program for overnight stays, or the streets?
And I don't know who's taking on this slide, but I'll just say, the reason we're all here is because we believe we can do something about this. We don't have to sit and just watch the world happen around us. We want to come up with some ideas. And the reason why we're sort of putting this all together is we believe we can get traction on some of our ideas by bringing them into a forum, into a place where we can discuss it with leaders, discuss it with experts on the topic, and see if we can get traction on some good solutions. And we all should also know that it's not going to be one single solution that solves the problem. And it's going to take a lot of different angles, a lot of different approaches on a lot of different problems. And so that's why it's going to work out. That's a reason why we want as many people participating as we can, because it's going to take success through a thousand, great ideas. And so we hope everyone participates. And I believe Allison is going to talk through the rest of the details, and Christine, one of the two. Okay.
So today's our info session, so thank you for being here for our kickoff. We have our next workshop happening October 9th. This will be at the Design Innovation Building, and our October 16th workshop coming up on the 16th. Then in 23 days from now, we hit our submission deadline, which is going to be October 25th. After that, we're heading to the World Design Policy Conference on November 12th, which is essentially a global platform and a space for you to exchange ideas, insights, and best practices regarding design-led urban policy. Next slide, please. So submissions will be showcased at the World Design Policy Conference from D4SD. Teams can share their proposals, as I mentioned, with experts, mentors, and community members to get feedback and gain traction. While we don't require everyone to attend from your team, we ask that one person attend if you would like to be eligible for recognition, awards, and cash prizes. And we are offering a ticket per team.
I just noticed the slide says 2 tickets will be offered to each team. Right now, we're offering 1 ticket per team. It might bump up to 2 tickets later, depending on availability and space.
So now I'll be talking a little bit about what you will be submitting. Earlier, we talked a little bit about the different types of proposals: health, equity, upward mobility, and placemaking. But there are also different solution types that you can choose from to submit. So the first of which is going to be architecture and urban design. And this basically involves creating a blueprint or a vision for transforming San Diego's environment, such as site plans, architectural renderings, or urban designs that improve affordability, accessibility, and safety. The next option that you can choose to create is a policy. So here you'll develop actionable frameworks, ordinances, or incentives to promote affordable housing, construction, and address inequities with the goal of building inclusive and vibrant communities. Third, we have product solutions. This category focuses on innovative tools, applications, or physical products, such as health kits, mobile apps that improve quality of life and help address housing challenges. And fourth, we have service solutions, and that's the last option you can consider, that focuses on comprehensive support programs, such as affordable housing initiatives, healthcare access, mental health, substance abuse treatment, job training, and more to meet the diverse needs of individuals who are facing housing insecurity. And now that we've covered the challenge and possible formats your solution can take, I want to also go over what your submission should look like. So we're asking for you to put together a pitch deck. And on the slide, you can see some of the guidelines about how we are encouraging you to organize it. So first, you'd start with a title slide, then an introduction, which might include information on your team, the background on the problem, which helps us understand what it is you're actually trying to address. Some research, this could include secondary or primary research, as well as your proposed solution, which includes your specific innovative approach. And finally, we also have up to two optional additional slides that you can include, but it's not necessary to do so. These slides can be included anywhere in your presentation where you need to have more information. You also have the option to not include those. And then I'm sure many of you are curious to know how your proposals and submissions are going to be evaluated. So here are some of the criteria. The first of which is problem identification and relevance. This basically means how well have you identified the problem and its relevance to the housing crisis. Next is human-centered approach. We're looking for solutions that are rooted in real people's needs. So have you considered people's experiences in an empathetic, usable, and accessible way? A third, solution, novelty, impact, and feasibility. Is your idea innovative? Can it make a significant impact? And is it achievable? And fourth, we also really care about how your information is presented. Is it well-structured, clear, engaging, effectively communicated, both with your research and your solution? And yeah, that's all that I have for my part.
And we'll pass it to
That's all.
Christine, talk about the workshop structure.
Yeah, so for our workshops, we're going to have a couple of workshops over the next couple of weeks. And the workshops have been created to align with the order of the double diamond design thinking process. If you're a design student, you're probably familiar with this diagram, but if you don't know, I'll give you a little explanation. This is just one model of the design thinking process, and in this process, there are two different spaces, the problem space and the solution space. The problem space is the phase where we discover more about the problem and test our assumptions. The discover part of the problem space is where we learn about the topic or problem before making any judgments. The define part of the problem space is where we start to narrow down and decide on the definition of the problem we're trying to solve for. Next slide. So for workshop 1, we'll be focusing on discovering and setting you up to define. Next week, we're going to guide you guys on how to become more familiar with the different topics under housing that were previously mentioned. We'll also be giving you some guidance on creating a point of view statement and mapping out your discovery plan. And there will also be opportunities for team forming if you don't have one already. Next slide. So then by workshop 2, you should have a good understanding of the topic of your choice and all the different variables that are part of the problem. In this workshop, we'll start with a problem framing exercise, and that will give you guys a defined problem to answer to. After we have the problem statement prepared, we'll be guiding you on ideating solutions and how you might develop on those solutions further. So just to reiterate, we're going to have 2 workshops over the next couple of weeks to help you form teams and prepare you for submission. Then a week and a half after our second workshop, submissions will be due on October 25th. Finally, in mid-November, your submission will be presented, or might be presented at the World Design Policy Conference that was mentioned earlier.
Great.
The links to registration, go ahead.
I think you should say this one since you're planning to. Go ahead.
Okay, yeah. The links to registration for the workshops will be sent in the chat, but if you need it, here's a QR code to the registration form. While you're filling out the registration form, we're going to open up the discussion for any questions.
Thank you. I was just going to clarify one thing, which is that those workshops are there as a service to the community. They are not required. You don't have to go to the workshops to submit a solution. To submit a proposal for the challenge. You have the October 25th deadline to get a proposal submitted. You can find anyone that you want to work with on this, or you can work by yourself. The only rule we have is that you only put your name on one proposal. So you pick one topic And you can be on one team, or you can work by yourself, but just don't be on two teams. All right, so that's what we have prepared. And that's what we're planning to do over the next month and a half, leading up to the World Design Capital event on November 12th. How are you guys out there feeling about it? Do you have any questions?
Hi, thanks so much for putting this all together. I had a question. Who would be evaluating the pitches?
That's a great question. We are going to have a set of expert jurors that will be judging the proposals. We're not ready to release those names quite yet, but they will be, very experienced people. And we'll be putting that out on the website as soon as that's ready.
Thanks.
Other questions? Thank you, Mara. Michael on the chat asks, where can I find a recording of this kickoff for future reference? Great question. We will be posting this video as soon as it's ready on the D4SD website. And we'll probably be, communicating with you guys because you came to this webinar. We have your email now, and we'll include you on our newsletters coming up. And we'll include a link to the video in the next newsletter. Thank you. Another little tidbit that didn't come out in this presentation, but it's worth mentioning, is there will be prizes. We have some commitment of cash prizes that are available for the best proposals that come through. We haven't put down any amounts because we're still trying to get sponsors that want to support this. But we have commitment in the thousands of dollars to be able to give out. So really excited about that. But most of all, we want people to, submit ideas because we want to do something about this. And again, there's no silver bullet solution to these problems. It's going to be a lot of small things that hopefully get a little traction and make life better for somebody out there. Other questions?
Questions in the chat?
If you have questions, you can just unmute and ask your question or put it into the chat. I'm excited to see Adrian Tolentino from some of my previous classes. All right. I think it's all pretty clear. We can talk a little bit more about those challenges, which we only had a few minutes to kind of give a quick overview. But there's a lot of really interesting aspects that we've been learning through the last few months of preparing this. So for example, Shinhei was talking about the problem of upward mobility and people sort of getting off the streets and getting back into society. One of the challenges we learned about that's really interesting is just the documentation problem. That when you apply for a job or you apply for housing, you need to have all your documentation lined up from, your driver's license. And if you don't have your driver's license, you need your birth certificate. And if you don't have your birth certificate, then you need to go back to the hospital. I don't know, this whole document chain became a major barrier for people who, had lost a couple of things. And then when they're on the street and they have no car and no easy way to get around, going around and doing that and knowing the trail of documentation you need and the places that you need to go. Related to that is a lot of people don't have an address, and a lot of these documents need to be mailed to a physical address. So these are simple problems, but very specific that, really thinking about how something could sort of, play a role in making the system work better. That's just one sliver. You could imagine taking on something related to just awareness and making people more receptive and empathetic towards the problem. And that could be interesting design. So we have a question here from Zhao Ray asking, I see there's a team, find a team on Slack option. I'm not sure where she's seeing that, but yes, we're gonna have a Slack channel We didn't quite get that ready for this webinar, but that will be available in the next week. And we're going to be onboarding people to the Slack for the workshops we're hosting next week. Okay, so we can go back and show that QR code if you guys want to sign up for the workshop. That's where you do it. It's going to be in the Design and Innovation building on the second floor in room 208. So just come in and be ready to interact with peers and dig in. Riley Liu asks, are there some past projects done on this topic? By this topic, I assume you mean housing and homelessness. So if you go up to the D4SD website and go to the Discover page, there's a lot of background we prepared there on the topics. If you go to the Discover page and scroll past the 4 main topics, there's a listing of some really good resources that would be good background reading in preparation for this, including a report that just came out this week from the Homelessness Hub at UC San Diego, describing one of their design projects, something called Humble Design, that was all about, you know, helping families get on their feet, giving them a place that feels like home, and really paying attention to the little details that make people feel comfortable and safe. Cool.
Sorry, I have one more question. When it comes to getting like user feedback, like at your workshops, will you guys provide some guidance around that, just given the sensitive nature of this topic?
So we're working on bringing folks in who have lived experience with the problem that can speak directly to teams and through the workshops. It's true. It's a very tough aspect of this problem that you can't just go up, or it's at least difficult to go and talk to somebody who's currently experiencing the challenge. And so we'll do what we can to provide some resources for you. It's really also, you know, I'd be excited to see teams, you know, doing things and talking to people and on their own, you know, going out and making contacts and trying to get input on what they're creating. I think that will make for a really good submission, teams that try to go the extra mile and talk to people and get feedback. So we'll do what we can to provide resources, but it's really up to the team to have, you know, a bit of, you know, having that elbow grease and going out and, you know, trying to meet some people. It could be, for example, a Zoom conversation with somebody who works for one of these existing organizations. That would tell you a lot about the particular details of the challenge that you're focused on, maybe why something isn't currently working well. So as one example that's coming to my mind right now, there's a focus topic under the topic of health that has to do with sleep, better sleeping. And we've thought a lot about in this group about the folks that are sleeping in their cars, let alone sleeping on the street, which, you know, has its own particulars. But imagine the people who, they have a job, they just can't afford paying the expensive rents around here. So they've made the choice to live out of their car. And there are existing solutions, safe parking solutions, and that at least make it safe, and they have some facilities there for people to use. So interesting. We can come up with some ideas for how to improve sleep if you're, you know, sleeping out of your car. But we also have now a resource that we can go and reach out to. We know the location of the safe parking spots around the city. You have contact information. You can, you know, with your own team, decide that you're going to go and reach out to people that run those organizations and do a little interview. Is that helpful, Mara?
Oh yeah, that is. Thank you.
Perfect. Cole points out that on the Discover page, if you click on one of the topics like health, and then there's a page dedicated to health and homelessness that you can read through. And the bottom of that page, we list out some of the existing solutions that we found. It's always good if you're going to innovate and come up with, solutions, to know what solutions are already out there. So, know your world, and then that also gives you a way to dig into why do those solutions not get get the job done? What is it that's currently lacking? So we'll get into a lot of those particular details at our first workshop next Wednesday, the Discover and Define workshop. If you come in having no background, that's okay too. We're going to be doing team forming activities, a lot of sort of downloading of information, and then we'll, roll up our sleeves and start working on this. All right, any other questions out there? There's an FAQ section on the website on the participate page, where you might have some questions. For example, the teams, we set a maximum number of team members to be 6. The November 12th World Design Policy Conference, our big summit, is going to be a chance to showcase your idea. You don't have to be able to go on November 12th to be able to enter the challenge. We're taking out any ideas that people want to submit by October 25th. However, you have the opportunity to go to this event, huge event. I think they're aiming for, hundreds of people, probably on the order of 500 to 800 people will be at this event. It's going to be, the mayor will be there. It's a lot of the movers and shakers from the city and nationally, a lot of people coming in to see how San Diego's doing it, talk about creating, one, a citywide design council, and 2, a nationwide design council. So interesting conversations happening at that event. D4SD will be there as part of a major part of the innovation track. So we're going to get a lot of exposure, a lot of hopefully traction on these ideas. And so you have the opportunity to go. We're going to be able to provide at least 1 ticket for every team to attend that event. It's an event that if you wanted to go on your own, it's expensive. How expensive is it, Dania?
It's about almost $700.
$700 for like a professional. I think there's a student rate, but we're going to be able to get at least 1 ticket per team to go to this event where you can showcase your idea. And then we're going to have our top teams will be selected to be up for prizes and to potentially give a short pitch of their idea in front of everybody. What were you saying?
Implement their solution.
And implement. So if your idea is selected through this process, we're going to have these prizes that will go towards implementing your idea, and we'll have people to help you and mentor you along the way. So really exciting opportunity. Any other questions up there?
Do you have any more questions in the chat?
I don't see any other questions. If there's no other questions, we'll go ahead and end the recording. I'm happy to stay on a little longer in case there are still more questions that